Houston Rockets. All right, so here's a team I believe is set to disappoint, and not for the reasons maybe people think they are. The biggest problem to me for the Rockets is point guard play. They really believe that that James Harden can play point guard, and I beg to differ. I think James Harden is an excellent ball handler. I think that James Harden is an excellent passer, and I think James Harden is excellent at getting his own points. But there's a dividing line between those attributes and being a real point guard. And this is what separates James Harden from someone like Derek Fisher, who ended up being in the league for 20 years, and no one knows why. I'll tell you why Derek Fisher was in the league for 20 years. There is, if you ever go research the triangle offense, this is the best way to explain what I'm talking about, I think, we'll see. They have in the triangle offense what they call the trigger man. And normally that's the point guard. But that's the guy who's responsible for initiating the play. And what's interesting about that is the trigger man brings the ball up court, or maybe he brings the ball up court, but his role is to get the play started in rhythm and efficiently. It's the first rule of the triangle offense. You have to get the ball to the trigger man, who then makes a decision on how the play is going to go. That decision affects the rest of the play, obviously. And Derek Fisher showed through his abilities to run the triangle, but also what that meant was that although it was applied in the triangle offense, Derek Fisher in those moments showed a tremendous ability to diagnose and also, like I keep harping on, create those opportunities through a number of different ways, through eye contact, basically like a quarterback, looking off the defender, using body language, using subtle dribble maneuvers that guys like James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Derrick Rose don't understand. That's why they tend to over dribble, because they're dribbling around trying to find it, whereas really a point guard that understands the concept of being a point guard knows that you make a play, and if it doesn't work, then you still pass the ball or you make a play. These guys have a tendency to, when the first play doesn't work, then they want to keep dribbling. And what happens is that's when teams get stuck up against the 24-second shot clock. And when you watch James Harden, you'll notice that he does a lot of that, where it's not a good decision. Rather, it's, I'll try something, and oh, that didn't work, we'll go to something else. It doesn't work in the long haul. That's going to cause a lot of empty possessions, in my opinion. Now, they very well could find a solution to that point guard problem. And it won't be Patrick Beverley, who is, I don't know what that guy is doing out there. He seems like he's out of control. And it won't be through Jason Terry. And it won't be through Troy Daniels. The one point guard solution I see, and in fact his game is very similar to Derek Fisher's, that is Isaiah Canaan out of Murray State. And when he came out last year, him along with Pierre Jackson, although I think Pierre Jackson is going to be, holy cow. Isaiah Canaan is not at Pierre Jackson's level. But Isaiah Canaan is possibly at Derek Fisher's level. And what that is exactly what the Houston Rockets need. They don't need James Harden to try to go hero ball on every possession. That would be a disaster. It is a disaster. It will always be a disaster. Isaiah Canaan had 2, 3, 4 years of running the point at Murray State. He showed a tremendous ability to make decisions. Now, he, along with, let's say, Steph Curry, they were they've been overlooked for their point guard abilities because they tended to score a lot more than pass when in college. But that, when you watched, was a sign of great point guard play, because Isaiah Canaan is one of the greatest shooters you'll ever see, as well as Steph Curry. I mean, Steph Curry's much better, but Isaiah Canaan is amazing shooter, amazing shooter. So when he was shooting on Murray State, that was as a result of him being the best option a lot of the times. And so, and he is not, I don't believe, ever going to be a super high assist guy. I think his role will always be, because he's not going to be able to drive. See, guys like Kyrie Irving, Steph Curry, Chris Paul, all those guys have the added ability, whether from their shot, their quickness, whatever, they can get to the hoop. Now that leads to a lot of direct assists because of the drop-offs and all that shit. Isaiah Canaan is not going to get to the hoop a lot. He's never going to have a lot of assists. But he can run a team and get them into their set and rhythm with pace and get the play flowing the way it should. Now the rest of the roster, let's take a look. Trevor Ariza, amazing pickup. But on the Rockets, I really don't. I mean, he fills Chandler Parsons' role. I think he's better than Chandler Parsons. But based on the setup of the team, I love Ariza. I just don't know if he makes a huge difference in this setting. I love Terrence Jones. Defensively, he is a nightmare. He's a freak. Athletically, he has super long arms. I want to say he has a 7-foot wingspan. He has great instincts for the position as far as shot blocking, getting steals. Offensively, though, it's not so important. The problem, though, is, again, the lack of point guard play means that Terrence Jones is going to have to create a lot more than he should. Terrence Jones is it should be a catch and shoot, catch and make a move, not off the dribble. He can dribble, and he can make some moves, but it's going to be a 50-50 proposition, and he should be the kind of guy who's catching the ball in a position for him to score already. Donatas, I don't even know how to pronounce his name, Moraes Yunis. He's interesting. It's all up to how the Rockets use him. Jason Terry is done. And then there's the man, the myth, Dwight Howard, the most underrated player probably in NBA history. Go take a look at those Orlando Magic teams. Replace that center with any other center and try to imagine those teams get sniffed in the finals. Impossible. The difference between Dwight Howard and just about every other center that's ever played, aside from maybe Hakeem Olajuwon, is if you watch Dwight Howard, for all his goofiness and all that stuff, Stan Van Gundy coached this dude to a point where if you watch him on defense, you will never ever see Dwight Howard not competing on defense. And that dude is 6'10", 7 feet wingspan. He's not quite as athletic, but he's still a freak of nature athletically. He moves his feet. He contests at the rim. He gets steals, blocks. I mean, he is just amazing. His defensive abilities are second to none. He is not behind any player that's ever played the game, in my opinion. He is just criminally underrated. But unfortunately, his ability to win is predicated on point guard play. When he was with the Magic, he was lucky enough to have Jameer Nelson. Now he's stuck with James Harden, and I really don't like their chances. So I would love it, though, if Dwight Howard proved me wrong, because I just think the world of him. So anyway, that's my preview of the Houston Rockets.